From WUAB, Channel 43, where the news comes first. This is the 6 o'clock news with Eric Green, Barbara Serrano-Meek, meteorologist Sally Bernier, and Jeff Phelps on sports.
Sounds of cheers fill the air in Cleveland as the Tribe says so long to the stadium. Sounds of gunfire erupt in Moscow as a political standoff turns deadly. Could it be the start of civil war? Good evening. We'll have more on today's disturbing turn of events in Russia in just a moment.
But first, a local celebration that's got the town talking. It's a day the Indians organization has spent months planning and a moment in history witnessed by a sold-out crowd. Cleveland Stadium is no longer home to the Tribe. The season is over. But the last goodbye was a joyous celebration rather than a time for sadness. We have team coverage of today's big party. We start by going live to Ben Holbert, who's standing by at the stadium. You really pulled a rough assignment today, Ben.
Barbara, I tell you, it's a dirty job, but somebody has to do it. But no, laying all jokes aside, this was a terrific day to be down here at the stadium. Absolutely fantastic day, an opportunity not only for fans, but also for reporters like myself. I mean, it was a fantastic day, and it was probably one of the greatest moments in Cleveland sports history for myself. Join me now as we take that one last trip around the bases to get it from the fans' perspective. How did you feel when you found out that you got the tickets for the very last game?
Oh, I was excited.
And that excitement will be the memory fans both young and old and near and far won't soon forget.
I drove up from Columbus, been here all 3 days, came to the opening day, came here in '75, first game, Frank Robinson's ride. Been here all 3 days, had a great time. Fans are great, the ushers, everyone, vendors. It's just a great atmosphere.
It is bittersweet. Like to see him move to the new place. Don't like to see him leave here. Rather see him win.
But this old stadium has seen its share of winners. For Lawrence Hardy Sr. and Jr., baseball has been a high point in their life.
I've seen the 1948 World Series, 1954 World Series, so this is a historic moment for me.
Hardy's son had a tryout with the Tribe. Maybe the Indians should have signed him, could have brought us a winner.
I had tryouts with them, with the Pirates, with Cincinnati. Still play. We played 30 and over, and we won the championship this year.
Governor Voinovich was in the announce booth providing play-by-play. He says politics played a large part in keeping the Tribe here in Cleveland, and also adds, as we close one chapter, we have an opportunity to begin another.
The fans need to hear that in the next couple of years, we're going to win the pennant in the World Series. It's been too long.
And I tell you, Governor, I couldn't agree more. Hopefully in 1994, we'll have a World Series championship when we go to Gateway. Now, Christy Carlson was also down here at the stadium and in the stands, and she joins us now live. And Christy, I just want to tell you something. In my 34 years of coming down to the stadium, I never had an opportunity to catch a souvenir foul ball until this moment. I got one today, so I'm very excited about that. How'd you do?
Well, Ben, I hate to burst your bubble, but I got one as well. Now, I'm not going to ask you if you caught yours, because I'm not sure what you would say. Ben, one thing I do regret, too, is that I didn't get any autographs on mine. I'm wondering if you got any on yours. Maybe Ben can't hear us anymore, but while I didn't get any autographs, one thing I did get to do is talk with some very special people, people who were here for the first game 61 years ago and who had the pleasure to be here today for the very last. The tens of thousands of fans who came out today can consider themselves part of history as they witnessed the Tribe play their last game ever at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. But only a select few can say they were part of history twice, having seen the first and last games.
The first game is I watched Mel Harder pitch against Lefty Grove of Philadelphia, and we lost 1-0. It was a great game. Now, this last game, I'd like to see Cleveland beat Chicago because it'd be the memory of the stadium to have a Cleveland win.
Win or no win, watching the Tribe play today brought back a flood of memories for these seasoned fans. Jimmy Dallas's fondest memory is watching Babe Ruth strike out 3 times in a single game.
At the time, you know, they wouldn't throw the ball over the plate for him, but he'd swing at anything that went by. And to watch him strike out so much, I wondered what the devil was so great about Babe Ruth. But I was a young boy at the time, and now I understand a little better.
George Perk remembers catching a home run by Rocky Colavito. He describes his feeling today as empty but thrilling.
Well, you feel a little empty in the stomach, and yet you feel thrilled from the chest and the lungs and that you're being able to see this. To see the Cleveland Indians play for the last time over here.
While all the fans are nostalgic about the old ballpark, they're also excited about the tribe's future at Gateway.
I'm excited. And just it's like the end of an old era and the beginning of a new era. And it's just utterly fantastic just to be here with a big crowd. Crowds that used to be here in 48 just like this all season long.
I think that this is not the modern day high-tech ballpark. I think we need to catch up with the rest of the league. Our players have to have that advantage too.
And they will have that advantage at Gateway next year. And Eric, a little piece of advice from one of those old timers I talked to, he said if you have the pleasure to be at opening day of Gateway, save something, because he didn't save anything from opening day here at Municipal Stadium and he regrets it now.
That's true, but at least the memories are there.
That's right. That's one thing you can never take away from anyone, including myself, I might add.
Okay, Christy, thank you very much. Speaking of memories, no one sang the national anthem before today's game. Instead, it was performed by the Cleveland Orchestra's brass quartet. The star vocal turn took place after the game.
And thank you so much.
Sounds nice. Leslie Hope may have been born in England, but he was raised in Cleveland, and the world got to know him as Bob. The former East High School football player turned fairly successful entertainer came back home to perform a special rendition of his theme song, Thanks for the Memories. He was accompanied today by his wife, Dolores. Mr. Hope, who once owned a part of the Indians back in the 50s, told the crowd that it was a kick for him to be back in his hometown for this particular weekend. So if you're just joining us, here is a recap of tonight's top story. This afternoon, the Cleveland Indians played their last ever game in Cleveland Stadium. A sold-out crowd of more than 70,000 turned out to witness history. Before and after the game, the tribe organization made sure the event was something to remember with a field-size flag for the national anthem and a special post-game performance by Bob Hope. As for the team's performance against the Chicago White Sox, well, Jeff Phelps will have highlights and the final score a bit later on in Sports Extra. And later in the newscast, we're going to hear from Indians legends Mel Harder and Herb Score on this big day. And you're also going to want to get your VCR ready. We will have a truly moving photo essay saluting the tribe, the stadium, national pastime with music by Sinatra that will definitely bring some tears to your eyes.
There's a crisis situation tonight, half a world away in Moscow, where President Boris Yeltsin has declared a state of emergency. The city today experienced the worst political violence since the Bolshevik Revolution. Up to 10,000 anti-Yeltsin protesters overwhelmed riot police in vicious street fighting. Under volleys of gunfire, they smashed their way into the Parliament building, City Hall, and the national TV studios. Russian TV is now off the air. Details are sketchy, but some officials are saying at least 6 people were killed, including 4 soldiers. Dozens were injured, some when they were run over by trucks driven by protesters to break through lines of riot police. Protesters also took dozens of riot police prisoner. Hardline lawmakers who have been holed up in the Russian Parliament building for 2 weeks now are calling for the overthrow of Yeltsin and his government.
Young people, combat-ready men, everybody should be forming detachments, and we should now attack the mayor's office under Stankenau, and we should assault those 2 buildings and win.
A spokesman for Yeltsin says Alexander Rutskoy, who's leading the hardline opposition to Yeltsin, has been stripped of his title of Russian vice president. Meanwhile, President Clinton says the U.S. must stand behind Yeltsin.
I still am convinced that the United States must support President Yeltsin and the process of bringing about free and fair elections.
The situation in Moscow was triggered when Yeltsin moved to dissolve parliament and hold new elections.
It has been a day of violence and rumor in Somalia. 2 American Black Hawk helicopters were shot down today in the African nation, but so far there is no word from the Pentagon on casualties. Earlier, the Pentagon had said there was military action underway in Mogadishu. Also today, a United Nations employee was killed when a mine exploded under a military vehicle. 3 U.S. Marines were hurt in that attack. Now, an Italian news agency reported that 2 American soldiers had been killed in the explosion, but at this hour, a UN spokeswoman says there does not appear to be any truth behind that report.
With little hope of finding more earthquake survivors, the emphasis today in India has turned toward helping those who lived through the disaster. Helicopters and trucks delivered relief supplies to the area hit hardest by this week's deadly quake. It was the country's worst in 50 years. Some villages in southwest India were leveled, killing an estimated 30,000 people. Today, health workers sprayed disinfectants to fight the threat of disease, and soldiers built makeshift shelters for the homeless. The greater Cleveland Indian community is spearheading the relief effort here. Today, they held a prayer ceremony on the west side at a west side temple.
We think that they definitely need the material aspects of relief, money, clothing, whatever else that is useful there. But they also need some kind of a spiritual help from every place in the world, that they should know, they should feel that the world around them has not forgotten them.
If you would like to contribute to the relief fund, you can mail your donation to FICA Indian Community Center, 12412 Cedar Road, Cleveland Heights, 44106.
He surprised a lot of people with his strong showing in last year's presidential election, and tonight Ross Perot's back. He's going to be speaking in Cleveland. The Texas billionaire will begin a speech at the IX Center at around 6:30. He'll be addressing supporters of his United We Stand group. Now, in recent weeks, Perot's been critical of America's involvement in NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. Harry Boomer's at the IX Center for us. He'll have a full report on Perot's remarks tonight on the 10 o'clock news.
He was the mastermind behind movies like Malcolm X and Jungle Fever, and now 36-year-old Spike Lee has taken on a real-life challenge. The world-famous movie director, seen here during an appearance last year at CSU, has gotten married. Lee got hitched to Tanya Lynette Lewis yesterday in New York City. The ceremony was held at Riverside Church, which is on the outskirts of Harlem. Stevie Wonder and the Harlem Boys Choir provided music. Among the guests, Denzel Washington, director John Singleton, and Ahmad Rashad with his wife Felicia.
Forget physics, blow off biology. Students are falling in love with the latest class being offered at the University of Cincinnati. About 30 students have enrolled in a class that teaches them about the lessons of the heart. Love 101 breaks away from traditional lectures. Instead, instructor Nancy Spence shows movies ranging from the romantic to the racy. Students also get to write papers and participate in discussions on their real-life love affairs. While some people may question the seriousness of this class, especially after hearing that the students get lessons in flirting, Spence says it's a course that teaches them about real life, which would have killed my grade point average.
Or helped it, I don't know. The merits of the Clinton health plan were debated on network TV this morning. Up next, you'll hear what's being said about proposals to provide national health coverage. And you'll meet the pilot behind that secretive flight that brought John Demjanjuk home to Ohio.
Plus, bikers may look tough, but they're really just a bunch of softies. Don't believe it? Would we lie? We'll have it later.
Kira is forced to resign.
What do you want me to do, Odo?
Fight for what you want! Now she's a pawn in a rebel plot.
How can you betray your own government?
We are all patriots, Commander. But who's really behind this devious plan?
Where would the Circle be getting so many weapons?
What will the Federation do?
We gotta leave.
If we withdraw, we'll be giving Bajor and the wormhole back to them.
On an all-new episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Sunday night at 7 on Channel 43.
This is no ordinary car. It may look like one, and it drives like one, but remarkably it doesn't pollute like one, because this car runs on powerful, clean-burning natural gas, an American fuel that is already reducing emissions in fleet cars and trucks by up to 90%, yet costs less than gasoline. The family car is just around the bend. Natural gas. It's a better road to a cleaner America.
I want a GMC truck. Whoa, one that'll fit in my garage. A Sierra? Right. Available V8 power, strong frame, rear wheel anti-lock brakes, galvanized steel, and a great warranty. Sierra. Yeah, that's what I want. Now save up to $1,400 with summer sell-down value package savings. Sierra from GMC Truck. It's a pickup truck with a lot of heart. See your 5-star GMC truck dealer now.
In a world of hot dogs that are more bark than bite, now comes Rally's Spicy Smokin' Sausage. Eat it plain or with chili, cheese, and onions. Its bite is even bigger than its bark. Rally's has it right.
President Clinton will be spending his evening in Sacramento, California. He'll participate in a televised town meeting focusing on his health care reforms. Now, members of Congress have now had nearly 2 weeks to analyze the plan, and on this Sunday morning's news programs, members of Congress hashed out the pros and cons.
I think Washington has been sucked into a personality dialogue that is irrelevant to the American people's future. It is not a question of whether Bill Clinton is a good speechmaker or whether Hillary Clinton is a good witness. What is the question is, and that's why I waived this plan. Read what they are saying in their plan. It is an atrocity, and it is unbelievable how bad it is.
I've got constituents in St. Louis who tell me, Congressman, do something, because I can't afford to pay for my health insurance. My kids are uncovered. My spouse is uncovered. You got to do something. The Clintons are trying to do something, and we ought to help them do it.
Well, tomorrow, Mr. Clinton finds out what union organizations think of his plan when he addresses the AFL-CIO convention in San Francisco. While Americans debate health care, Germans continue to talk about their future, especially today. It was October 3rd, 1990, that East and West came together again to form a reunified Germany. On this, the third anniversary of that merger, leaders of the European community are urging Germans to resist protectionism and nationalist pressures. Jacques Delors says the German people must constantly work to maintain their peace and freedom. Germany is one of several European nations which has recently seen a growing hostility toward minorities and foreigners.
Encouraging news from the Middle East tonight. It appears Israeli leaders are prepared to sit down with the Palestinians to forge ahead with their newfound friendship. An Israeli newspaper says Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin has approved a plan to talk economics with the PLO. Sources report a senior PLO leader will attend an economic conference in Jerusalem later this month. It would be the first ever visit by a Palestinian to a Jewish economic summit. Last month, the two sides reached a historical peace agreement to give limited self-rule to Palestinians in the occupied territories. Nearly a week and a half ago, John Demjanjuk returned to Northeast Ohio from a prison in Israel. People are still talking about the amazing flight which brought him back to Ohio without detection. It's a harrowing tale that one local pilot will never forget. Tonight, we introduce you to the man who flew Demjanjuk home on a charter plane from New York, eluding everyone along the way. The secret mission actually started more than a month ago when pilot Fritz Forsthoffel got a surprise phone call from a travel agent. He wanted him to fly the plane that would carry John Demjanjuk back home.
The man obviously was serious, and I had to treat it as that kind of call.
And then the adventure began. The flight was truly a cloak and dagger mission. Forsthoffel took off from Lost Nation Airport in Menor, stopped off at Burke Lakefront Airport in Cleveland to pick up a couple of bodyguards, and then headed for New York, leaving a confusing paper trail to throw off anyone who wanted to track them. In New York, with hours still to go, the plane was parked under guard. A terrorist bomb or a sniper bullet all of a sudden seemed very possible.
You know, that it's a real fear, and it can't be discounted. Of course, I did feel much better after speaking with the head of security, and he assured us that we would be given the same level of security protection that the president would have. Of course, it is rather ominous when you go to step into an aircraft and the whole aircraft is surrounded by security men. The media is all held back by additional security, and on the rooftops there were sharpshooters.
Forsthoffel was given carte blanche at JFK Airport with unrestricted access directly to the runway. Once in the air, the flight would last 2.5 hours. The video you're looking at was taken by Forsthoffel on the flight back to Ohio. On board were Demjanjuk, his son John Jr., Congressman James Traficant, and 2 bodyguards.
I looked back and I could see them, you know, looking out the windows, and I could tell that they probably recognized where they were. I told them that we were back inside of Ohio, and he kind of, you know, raised his eyebrows and smiled a little bit. I'm sure he was a bit relieved.
When they were 10 miles out of Cleveland Hopkins, Forsthoffel canceled his flight plan and went to VFR, or Visual Flight Rules. As long as he stayed out of airport airspace, he didn't have to communicate with anybody. But he did have constant air-to-ground contact with a car at the airport in Medina, which was waiting to whisk off Demjanjuk. Forsthoffel says the experience was overwhelming and awesome, and questions whether he'll have another one like it.
Oh, God. Only if they call me and have me pick up the president or something like that.
Good topic. Great. And his adventure didn't end there. After he brought Demjanjuk to Medina, he went on to Washington to take Congressman Traficant back. He stayed to watch President Clinton deliver his health care address, and then had to take the congressman back to Youngstown. So it's a week he'll never forget.
I would say so.
Yes.
That's an interesting 7 days. Well, the morning today got off to a rough start in Parma Heights. A car smashed through a pharmacy. When the 6 o'clock news continues, we'll explain what happened.
And you'll hear from two of the most famous names in Cleveland Indians history. Find out what Mel Harder and Herb Score think of the team's move to Gateway.
When I was in medical school, I was so nervous examining my first patient, I forgot to put the ends of the stethoscope in my ears. Actually, being with patients is what I like best. Human touch, somehow it benefits a person's health. Maybe the best thing about a stethoscope is, it brings me this close to my patients.
People choose Kaiser Permanente for many good reasons. Dr. Les Naiman is one of them. Kaiser Permanente, good people, good medicine.
I'll never forget my first oil change. For more than 5 generations, people have trusted Kendall Motor Oil to protect their engines. Today's Kendall protects better than ever.
Car is a pretty big responsibility.
Yeah?
And this is the key.
Hey, Charlene.
Did you put the drain plug back in, son?
That day, I learned something about motors and motor oil.
What's that look like?
And to be sure to put the drain plug back. Kendall Motor Oil. Pour in the protection. Available at these locations.
It's going on now. The biggest, the best money savings event of the year.
It's your Subaru dealer's silver anniversary celebration.
Every Legacy,
including wagons,
on sale.
Every Subaru Impreza,
every Subaru Justic,
every SVX,
every Subaru is up for grabs.
During our silver anniversary celebration, you'll save up to $3,000 on select Legacy L's, including wagons.
Subaru, the best-selling import wagon 11 years straight.
Special announcement.
You can lease Legacy L for 36 months for only $199 a month.
Hurry.
Don't wait.
And don't delay.
Get to your Subaru dealer's silver anniversary celebration today.
Dear Midas, my brakes were making a terrible squeaky noise. I brought my car to your competitor, and without any inspection, he said,
"You need new brakes."
Then I went to Midas. Your manager...
Hi, I'm Tom Kirshner.
...had a thorough inspection done and said,
"You don't need new brakes. The squeaking noise is caused by brake dust."
Such honesty is refreshing in the time of auto repair rip-offs. Yours truly, Frank J. Rutter.
If you're heading out for a night in the town, you really should make a game plan first. Pass your keys to a buddy if you're planning to drink. After all, being a passenger can be a lot of fun, too.
A friendly reminder from Beer Drinkers of America.
Workers at a Parma Heights drug mart got quite a surprise this afternoon when a woman came through the front door in her car. Police say an elderly woman who was parked in front of this store got into her car, started it, and then jumped the curb, driving right through the doors. A female shopper was hit by the vehicle, but police say she didn't appear to have any visible injuries. The 78-year-old driver says she put the car in reverse and doesn't know why the car went forward. Police say the car will be checked by a mechanic, but the driver was cited for failure to control her vehicle.
Absenteeism is a problem in the Cleveland Public Schools, so today school board members set out to change that. Board members were on the phone this afternoon calling students to encourage them to come to school. District leaders say about 6,000 Cleveland Public School students have already missed half of the school days so far this year. During today's telephone blitz to improve student attendance, calls were made to students in kindergarten through the 12th grade. There was a special urgency to today's calls. Tomorrow, state officials will perform a student head count to determine allocation of funds to school districts.
Teachers in Youngstown still don't have a contract, but apparently it's not through a lack of trying. Talks between teachers and the school district started at 2 p.m. Friday and continued well into Saturday. But despite the marathon session, no agreement was reached. 950 members of the Youngstown Education Association walked off the job September 8th in a dispute over pay, benefits, and class size. The district's 14,000 students have been out of classes since September 9th. 59 dock workers at a Brook Park trucking company will split a $5.5 million settlement. Members of Teamsters Local 964 say they were fired from their jobs back in 1986 from Central Transport Incorporated. The next day, 26 were rehired with a new contract, which paid them $2 an hour less. The National Labor Relations Board has ruled the company was at fault for failing to recognize the union's bargaining unit.
When it comes to making money, the British royal family seems to have struck a gold mine. Back in August, the royals started offering tours of Buckingham Palace in London. For a small fee, folks could tour certain rooms and see how the other half lives. Today, a spokesman at the castle says the temporary tours pulled in $3.3 million. That's about 25% more than royal planners had projected. The 56-day experiment has come to an end now that Queen Elizabeth II has returned to London from her summer palace. The money raised will help pay repair bills from November's huge fire at Windsor Castle. Now, the Brits enjoy a fond relationship with their distant cousins here in the United States.
But their French neighbors are a bit reluctant about anything from America, except maybe Jerry Lewis. Euro Disney is reporting huge losses, and leaders of the film industry in France are cranking out movies to compete against Hollywood. But are the French really threatened by American pop culture? Christiane Amanpour tried to find out.
France blew a record $30 million on Germinal, the epic designed to beat back the U.S. blockbusters and stop the culture rot.
France considers culture not a commodity like hot dogs and hamburgers, but something that's homegrown, that's personal, and that's fragile, and they want to protect it.
Protect it and European cinema.
The French are the only ones left in Europe with a still thriving film industry, but they are worried for their future. Indeed, one leading French film director recently said, "We can't let the Americans deal with us in the same way as they dealt with the Redskins." But this flap over culture may have a lot less to do with culture than with money.
U.S. films own 60% of the market here. The French government recently banned its cable operators from carrying Turner Broadcasting's film and cartoon channel. But despite cries of cultural imperialism, France has managed to survive the onslaught of Americana. Fast food, for instance, has been around for years. A Burger King is tucked between two bistros. U.S. basketball star Michael Jordan looms larger than life, peddling McDonald's on the Champs-Élysées. But hamburgers can't compete with French cuisine. Haagen-Dazs ice cream is new and popular, but is it really squeezing out the sorbet? Or is the cultural war just part of the eternal love-hate relationship between wary friends?
I think it's not so much Yankee go home. I think it's, Yankee leave us some room to breathe is what it's about. And that Yankee wants to be too much at home abroad.
The Gap says it feels right at home here. It arrived this month, and chic French ladies rushed to the decidedly down-market clothes. But although U.S.-style gear is de rigueur, it's not yet knocking couture off the racks. And so even though the U.S. may dream of a culture Americana here, to the French, that's just a load of Mickey Mouse. Christiane Amanpour, CNN, Paris.
Hey, we really lucked out today. The rain stayed away for the party at the stadium.
Well, now that the celebrations ended with the cloudy skies make a comeback, Sally's on deck with the answer.
A GMC truck. Whoa, one that'll fit in my garage. A Sierra? Right. Available V8 power, strong frame, rear wheel anti-lock brakes, galvanized steel, and a great warranty. Sierra. Yeah, that's what I want. Now save up to $1,400 with summer sell-down value package savings. Sierra from GMC Truck. It's a pickup truck with a lot of heart. See your 5-star GMC truck dealer now.
In the clothing business, professionals can look at a garment and know its real value. Consumers cannot. We can, however, depend on brand names to determine value. Brand manufacturers must maintain their quality or the name becomes worthless. If you know the brand and its value, you're an educated consumer, and you'll never overpay. At Sims, you'll find hundreds of brand names, all at off price.
We're the one to turn to when you're selling or buying your home. And we'll make your dream come true. At Realty One, you're never alone. We're the one who believes in you, the one that you can trust. Big dreams, small dreams, you can count on us. Experienced professionals who know just what to do. Realty One, making dreams come true.
Hi, I'm Doug Deacon. Did you know that you can win free Browns tickets at your nearby convenient Food Mart store? We're sending over 600 winners to the Browns Dog Pound with free game tickets and an exclusive Cleveland Browns souvenir. While at convenient Food Mart, stop at the deli. Delicious cutty turkey breast is now only $1.99 a pound. And don't forget convenient Food Mart bread. 2 big 20-ounce loaves are now only 99 cents.
Convenient Food Mart.
Fly one of Continental Airlines' new Peanuts fares, and for a penny more, you can take along a pal.
Add a penny, add a pal. Only with Continental Peanuts fares.
Well, it turned out to be a really beautiful day.
Oh, just gorgeous, especially for the ball game. Couldn't get any better at this time of year. Well, I suppose you could, but but it was just so nice. Breezy, it was on the warm side. Will continue to be breezy tonight, and tomorrow fairly warm as well. Let's take a look and see what was going on today with all the sunshine and the wind. Temperature got up into the 60s today. High temperature 64 degrees. The low was 34. It was a cool morning, but we warmed up nicely. Record high 89 in 1953. Record low 29. That was in 1975. Sunrise at 7:27. Sets at 7:04. Right now, 63 degrees, still very nice. Barometer 30 inches even, so you can set your home barometer. It is very windy, as I said, and will continue to be windy tonight. Winds southwest, 22 miles an hour. They're gusting at times to 32. Winds on the lake becoming northwest. By tomorrow, 20 to 30 knots, waves 7 to 9 feet. Well, our atmosphere goes up 50 miles, and of course, compared to the Earth itself, that's not much. The comparison you usually hear is that if the Earth was an apple, the atmosphere would be the skin around that apple. We forecast weather that occurs only in the first 7 miles of that atmosphere. Now, if you take a look at the satellite picture today, you can go all the way up, and nothing's happening at all the way to the west coast. Here it is very hot and dry. Not a lot going on here with the exception of forest fires in Southern California. Take a look. They are dropping water all over the place trying to contain this 37,000-acre fire in Santa Barbara County. They have set back fires around the Michael Jackson Ranch in order to prevent the fire from intruding there. Other than that, the winds have been shifting and helping firefighters out a little bit. This fire was started by a discarded cigarette butt by a hunter, and he may face criminal charges. Take a look on radar, and you can see, as we showed you on the satellite picture, nothing going on. Just a few areas of showers, a few thunderstorms in South Texas, and then a few spotty showers in the northeast. But other than that, nothing going on. We're not looking for any showers here until at least later on Friday. This week looks really pretty nice. Temperatures should stay on the warm side. Right now, it's very nice across the state. Temperatures are in the 60s. Right now, 63 degrees in Cleveland, 65 in Columbus, all fair skies, 62 in Cincinnati. Here's our forecast for tonight. Fair skies, overnight low around 53 degrees. And then for tomorrow, here's what we're looking for. Partly cloudy. It will be breezy. High in the mid-60s once again. Tuesday, sunshine, just a little bit cooler with a high around 60 degrees, but we're going to warm up incredibly towards the end of the week. Wow. Wednesday, fair 74. Thursday, sunshine 78 degrees. And Friday, a chance of showers coming in late. High of 78 degrees. It's been a while since we've seen temperatures in the 70s.
Will this technically be Indian summer?
Well, we have had a little bit of a frost, so technically you could call it that. Normally, you like to see an extended period of cold weather and some frost.
Like through April.
Well, hopefully not that long, but yeah, we could call that.
We still can get some more warm stuff after this week.
You bet.
Great, thanks, Sally. Well, this weekend, lots of people have been talking about their favorite memories from the stadium, and everyone's got an opinion about the Indians moving to Gateway.
But what do you suppose team legends think of all the big changes? Mike Hegan found out recently when he sat down for a conversation with Mel Harder and Herb Score.
What kind of effect do you think that the new stadium will have on
the ball club, the fan interest, where the organization might go?
Well, for me, you know, I've seen a lot of games in the stadium. I sort of liken it to if you live in that house for 20 years and you say, boy, I never want to leave this house. It's such a great house. I'll never leave. Suddenly, you get a new house and you have all the amenities, the modern conveniences. Everything's new and bright and shiny. You forget that old house in a hurry.
How did we ever live in that old house?
Exactly. and I think the same thing's going to happen. I think for the fan, the player, the broadcaster, the writer, this is going to be a great thing. I'm looking forward to it because the Cleveland fans have been watching on television. You do the games, and you say, now here's Camden Yards. You pan everything, and they see all the nice things they have there. And then you look at the dome, and you say, oh, look at what they have there. Now they're going to experience that. And it's going to be a baseball park only. I think it's going to be great.
I think the new clubhouse, from what I can understand, and if it's going to be anything like Baltimore, they're going to have batting cages in there. They're going to have whirlpools in there. They're going to have weight rooms.
You'll need a road map.
You need a road map to find you. How this game has changed.
Oh, absolutely. Some of those old clubhouses and the old ballparks, they were something. These players today would have never lasted in those clubhouses. No air conditioning, no nothing. You know, just hot as all get out.
Well, I guess both of you guys, having played and been so long associated with Cleveland Stadium, you know, like you said, Herb, it's going to be a little nostalgic on the last day when it's finally over. But you got to look ahead and see what the future is going to bring.
And I think the future is going to bring a lot of good things. So everything's sort of coming together at the right time. You know, the Indians aren't going to be a better ball club just because they're playing Gateway next year. But they're going to be a better ball club because for the last 3 or 4 years, they've been getting better. They got a lot of good young ball players, and as we go around the league now, everybody talks about, you know, the Viagas, the Bells, the Loftons, the Alomars, I mean, and on and on. The everyday ball player the Cleveland Indians have right now can really compete.
Well, the Indians have certainly improved. They're going to be a good ball club. But leaving the stadium to go down to Gateway, it's going to help the ball club with their feelings and motivation and all that. And I think the crowd, the fans in Cleveland are really going to love that place down there. I'm glad to see them get their own ballpark.
I tell you, Herb Stewart looks great for 60.
Oh,
but
wonderful.
Mel Harder is 85 years old.
Incredible.
And it's great.
Good shape.
And imagine being around for the first pitch and then the last pitch today. Amazing. Well, it's a place where generations have cheered and champions have been made, but now the Cleveland Indians have parted ways with the stadium.
Up next on the 6 o'clock news, we'll say goodbye through pictures. Get out those tissues.
Hey, all you laugh-starved chuckle craving, give me comedy or get lost TV viewers.
What are we laughing at? I don't know.
Comedy is back on Channel 43. That's right, back.
Talk about guts.
Every weeknight we've got Cosby.
Now that's funny.
Empty Nest.
All right.
Cheers. Coach.
Man, do I love days like this.
Comedy is back. Where it belongs. Weeknights on Channel 43.
Nobody does it like you, the way that you do. Nobody's got the power to please me. Nobody does it like you. Puts it all together better to make it easy. Nobody does it like you. Hoover, nobody does it like you.
You're an interesting man, Mr. Jones.
Would you want to make me ordinary?
I want you to be well.
Between a doctor and a patient, friendship is dangerous.
Oh, my